The wedding dress felt like a costume. Lily stared at herself in the mirror, her heart pounding as she heard the wedding march begin downstairs. In exactly 10 minutes, she would walk down that aisle and marry a complete stranger. But what nobody knew, not even the groom, was that Lily had been planning this moment for 3 years, and she was about to turn everyone's world upside down. "I can't believe you're actually going through with this," whispered Maya, Lily's best friend, as she adjusted the veil. "Marrying someone you've never even met?" Lily took a deep breath. "Trust me, Maya, I know exactly what I'm doing." Her reflection showed a calm, beautiful bride, but inside, her mind was racing through every detail of her plan. 3 years of careful research, investigation, and preparation had led to this moment. Downstairs, guests were already whispering. Everyone knew this wasn't a love story. This was business. Cold, calculated business that would make one man very rich and leave a young woman trapped in a loveless marriage. Or so they thought. The door opened and Lily's father walked in. His face was tight with worry. "Lily, sweetheart, you don't have to do this. We'll find another way to save the company. I won't let you sacrifice your happiness for my mistakes." Lily turned and hugged him tight. "Dad, stop worrying. Everything is going to work out perfectly. You'll see." Meanwhile, in another room, 28-year-old Alexander Blackwood was loosening his tie for the third time. His hands were shaking, and his best man Marcus was trying to calm him down. "Alex, breathe, man. It's just a contract. You get married, inherit your grandfather's fortune, and then you can live your life however you want." Alexander ran his hands through his dark hair. "This is insane, Marcus. I'm about to marry a complete stranger because my grandfather decided to be cruel from beyond the grave. What kind of person does that make me?" "The kind who's about to inherit $50 million, Marcus said, trying to lighten the mood. But Alexander wasn't laughing. He'd seen a photo of Lily Walsh. She was beautiful, with kind eyes and a warm smile. The thought of trapping someone like that in a fake marriage made him sick to his stomach. His grandfather's will was clear: marry Lily Walsh within 6 months or lose everything to charity. The old man had arranged it all before he died, claiming it would teach Alexander responsibility. "I've been thinking," Alexander said suddenly. "After we're married, I'll set her up with her own place. Give her half of everything. She doesn't deserve to be stuck with me." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Half of $50 million? That's generous for someone you've never met." Alexander replied, "She's innocent in all this. Her father's company is failing, and apparently my grandfather promised to save it if she married me. She's sacrificing her whole life. The least I can do is make sure she's comfortable." The church was packed with people who looked like they were attending a funeral instead of a wedding. Lily's side was filled with her father's worried business partners and a few close friends. Alexander's side had fancy-dressed relatives who kept checking their phones and whispering about stock prices. As Lily walked down the aisle, she studied her future husband for the first time in person. Alexander Blackwood was tall and handsome, but his eyes looked sad. Alexander's breath caught when she saw Lily. The photos hadn't done her justice. She was stunning, but more than that, she looked like brave, like a warrior princess walking into battle. For some reason, that made him feel a little less alone. The ceremony was quick and cooled. They exchanged rings and said their vows, but everyone could feel the tension in the air. When the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," Alexander leaned in and whispered, "I'm sorry," before giving Lily the gentlest kiss on the cheek. Lily whispered back, "Don't be." The reception was even more awkward. People congratulated them with fake smiles, while everyone wondered how long this marriage would last. Lily and Alexander sat at the head table, barely talking, both lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Alexander couldn't take it anymore. He stood up and offered Lily his hand. "Would you like to dance?" As they swayed to the slow music, Alexander said quietly, "I want you to know, this doesn't have to be real. We can live separate lives. I'll make sure you have everything you need." Lily looked up at him, her green eyes sparkling. "What if I told you I had other plans?" Before Alexander could ask what she meant, the song ended and they were pulled apart by well-wishers and photographers. 3 days after the marriage, Alexander was working in his home office when Lily knocked on the door. They'd barely spoken since the reception, and she'd been staying in the guest room of his large house. "Come in," he called, expecting her to ask about household arrangements or maybe request her own apartment. Instead, Lily walked in carrying a thick folder and a laptop. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked determined. "We need to talk," she said, sitting down across from his desk. Alexander saved his work and gave her his full attention. "Of course, what's on your mind?" Lily opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "First, I want to show you something about your grandfather's will." Alexander frowned. "I've read the will. I know what it says." "Have you read it carefully?" Lily asked, sliding a paper across the desk. "Look at section 12, paragraph 4. Alexander read the highlighted text and his eyes widened. "I don't understand. This says that if the marriage is based on genuine care and mutual respect, and if both parties work together to honor the Blackwood family legacy of helping others, then additional provisions come into effect." Lily smiled. "Your grandfather wasn't just being cruel, Alexander. He was testing you." Alexander stared at the document. "Additional provisions? What additional provisions?" Lily opened her laptop and turned it toward him. The screen showed bank accounts, property deeds, and investment portfolios. "Your grandfather didn't just leave you $50 million. He left you $200 million, plus controlling interest in 3 major companies. But only if you prove you're worthy of it." Alexander's jaw dropped. "How do you know about this? How did you even get these documents?" Lily's smile grew wider. "Because your grandfather came to see me 3 years ago. He didn't just arrange our marriage, Alexander. He chose me specifically because he knew I could help you become the man he wanted you to be." Alexander sat back in his chair, his mind reeling. 3 years ago? But how? Lily pulled out another document, a letter in his grandfather's handwriting. "He'd been watching you, Alexander. He saw how you helped people in secret, how you donated to charities anonymously, how you always tried to do the right thing even when no one was looking. But he also saw that you were afraid to commit to anything big because you didn't think you deserved it." Alexander read the letter, his grandfather's words bringing tears to his eyes. The old man had written about Alexander's kindness, his potential, and his fear of not being good enough. "He knew you needed someone who would challenge you," Lily continued. "Someone who wouldn't just marry you for money, but someone who would push you to be your best self." "So he found me?" Alexander asked, though he was beginning to understand. "Because I'm not just Lily Walsh, struggling daughter of a failing businessman. I'm Lily Walsh, MBA from Harvard, formal consultant for 3 Fortune 500 companies, and the woman who's been secretly helping your grandfather plan this whole thing." Alexander's mouth fell open. "Your what?" "Your grandfather hired me 3 years ago to evaluate you and help create a plan that would bring out your best qualities. The failing business, that's real, but it's not the whole story. I've been working behind the scenes to save it, and I've almost succeeded. I just needed the final piece of the puzzle." "Which was marrying me," Alexander said slowly. "Which was marrying a man who would be my equal partner in business and in life," Lily corrected. "Your grandfather believed we could be perfect for each other. He thought that together we could do amazing things." Alexander stood up and walked to the window, trying to process everything. "So this whole time you've been playing a part?" Lily's voice softened. "No, Alexander, the business arrangement was planned, but everything else has been real. My nervousness at the wedding was real. My attraction to you is real. And my hope that we could make this marriage work, that's real too." Alexander turned back to face Lily. "What exactly are you proposing?" Lily stood up and walked around the desk until she was standing close to him. "I'm proposing that we give this marriage a real chance. Not because we have to, but because we might actually be perfect for each other." She pulled out another folder.
I've spent 3 years learning about you, Alexander. I know you donate anonymously to children's hospitals. I know you secretly paid off your college roommate's student loans when his mother got sick. I know you've been supporting a family of refugees for 2 years, and they don't even know it's you. Alexander's cheeks turned red. How could you possibly know all that? Because I've been falling in love with you from a distance, Lily said simply. Your grandfather showed me who you really are, and I wanted to meet you so badly, but I had to wait for the right time. Alexander's heart was racing. You love me? Lily reached up and touched his face gently. I love your kindness. I love how you always try to help people, and I really, really love the way you kissed my cheek at our wedding, like you were trying to make me feel safe instead of scared. Alexander covered her hand with his. Lily, this is crazy. 3 days ago, I thought I was trapped in a fake marriage. Now you're telling me that your grandfather orchestrated the most elaborate matchmaking scheme in history? Lily laughed. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But here's the really crazy part. I think it worked. Alexander pulled Lily closer. If this is real, if we're really going to try to make this work, then I need to know everything. No more secrets. Lily nodded. You're right. Let me tell you the whole truth. They spent the next 3 hours talking. Lily explained how she'd met Alexander's grandfather at a business conference, how impressed he'd been with her presentation on sustainable business practices. He'd approached her with an unusual job offer, help him find a way to ensure his grandson would inherit not just money, but wisdom. He showed me videos of you, Lily admitted. Speeches you'd given at charity events, security footage of you helping homeless people, testimonies from people whose lives you'd changed. I was supposed to write a report about your character, but instead I found myself fascinated by you. Alexander shook his head in amazement. So you agreed to marry a stranger based on videos? I agreed to marry someone I'd been studying and admiring for 3 years. Someone whose grandfather believed in him so much that he created an elaborate plan to help him find love. Alexander laughed, and for the first time in days, it was a real laugh. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and also the most romantic. Lily grinned. Your grandfather said you'd appreciate the complexity of it all. What else did he say about me? Lily's expression grew tender. He said you were afraid to love because you didn't think you deserved to be loved back. He said you'd spent so much time taking care of everyone else that you'd forgotten to take care of yourself. And he said that when you finally found the right person, you'd love them with everything you had. Alexander felt tears in his eyes. He knew me better than I knew myself. He also said, Lily added with a mischievous smile, that you make the world's best chocolate chip cookies, and that any woman who married you would be lucky to taste them. Alexander burst out laughing. You want me to prove my love with cookies? It's a start, Lily said, standing on her tiptoes to kiss his cheek the same gentle way he'd kissed hers at their wedding. Over the next few weeks, Alexander and Lily began to build a real relationship. They cooked together, with Alexander teaching Lily his secret cookie recipe. They worked together on business plans, combining Alexander's resources with Lily's expertise, and slowly, carefully, they began to fall in love for real. Lily helped Alexander understand the full scope of his inheritance. The additional money came with responsibilities, managing charitable foundations, overseeing sustainable business practices, and continuing his grandfather's legacy of helping others. It was exactly the kind of work Alexander had always dreamed of doing, but never thought he could afford. Your grandfather was brilliant, Lily said one evening as they reviewed foundation documents. He knew that just giving you money wouldn't make you happy, but giving you the tools to change the world, that's what you've always wanted. Alexander looked at Lily, who was curled up next to him on the couch, her hair falling in her face as she concentrated on the papers. 3 weeks ago, she was a stranger. Now he couldn't imagine his life without her. Lily, he said softly, yeah? I think I'm falling in love with you. The real you. Not the woman my grandfather chose for me. Just you. Lily's face lit up with the most beautiful smile Alexander had ever seen. Good, she said, because I'm already completely in love with you. The real you. But their happiness was interrupted by an unexpected visitor. Alexander's cousin Robert arrived at their house one afternoon, demanding to speak with Alexander privately. "This whole marriage is a sham. I've been investigating and I know she was working with grandfather before he died. The will should be invalid. That money should go to the family." Alexander's blood ran cold. Robert was a lawyer, and if he could prove the marriage was arranged beforehand, it might invalidate the inheritance entirely. "You don't understand," Alexander started to say. "I understand perfectly," Robert sneered. "Grandfather found some gold digger to trick you into marriage so he could control you from beyond the grave. Well, I won't let it happen." That night, Alexander was quiet and worried. Lily finally asked him what was wrong. "Robert knows about the arrangement," Alexander said. "He's threatening to contest the will. He says the marriage is fraudulent because you were working with my grandfather." Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Alexander, can you get Robert to come here tomorrow? I want to show him something." "Lily, this is serious. We could lose everything." "Trust me. Remember, I've been planning this for 3 years. I thought of everything." The next day, Robert arrived with a lawyer and a briefcase full of documents. Lily greeted them calmly and invited them into the living room where Alexander was waiting. "Before you say anything," Lily said, "I want to show you something." She pulled out a folder and handed Robert a thick stack of papers. "These are dated records of every interaction I had with your grandfather. Every email, every meeting, every phone call." Robert flipped through them, frowning. "This just proves what I'm saying. You were conspiring with him." "Keep reading." As Robert continued through the documents, his expression changed. The papers showed that while Lily had initially been hired to evaluate Alexander, she had repeatedly tried to quit the job. "I don't understand," Robert said, looking confused. Lily pulled out more documents. 3 months into the evaluation, I told your grandfather I couldn't continue because I was developing feelings for Alexander based on what I was learning about him. I said it wasn't professional." The papers showed email after email of Lily trying to back out of the arrangement, saying she couldn't marry someone under false pretenses, even if she was starting to care about him. "Your grandfather's response," Lily continued, pulling out a final letter, "was to release me from the job and tell me that if I truly cared about Alexander, I should trust that love would find a way." Alexander read the letter over Robert's shoulder. His grandfather had written, "Lily, if you've fallen in love with my grandson's character, then you're the exact woman he needs. But you must come to him honestly, or it will never work. I'm releasing you from our agreement. What happens next is up to fate." "The marriage wasn't arranged," Lily said quietly. "Your grandfather simply introduced us through circumstances. I chose to accept his proposal because I'd already fallen in love with Alexander's heart. And Alexander chose to be kind to me even when he thought I was a stranger because that's who he is." Robert stared at the documents, his case falling apart before his eyes. "There's one more thing," Lily said, pulling out a final paper. "Your grandfather left specific instructions. If anyone in the family tried to contest the will based on the marriage being arranged, they would forfeit their own inheritance, and it would go directly to charity." Robert's lawyer whispered something in his ear, and both men quickly gathered their papers and left. That evening, Alexander and Lily sat on their back porch, watching the sunset. Alexander was still processing everything that had happened. "So you really did fall in love with me before we met?" he said, still amazed. "I fell in love with your heart," Lily corrected. "Meeting you just confirmed everything I already knew, that you're the kindest, most genuine person I've ever known." Alexander turned to face her. "Lily, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Always," she promised. "If there had been no inheritance, no money, no pressure from my grandfather, if we had just met at a coffee shop or a bookstore, do you think you still would have fallen in love with me?"
Lily was quiet for a moment, thinking seriously about his question. Then she smiled and took his hands. "Alexander, for the past month, I've watched you give away more than half of your inheritance to charities. I've seen you cry over letters from families you've helped. I've watched you spend hours researching the best ways to help people you'll never meet. The money didn't make me love you more, it just gave you the tools to show me who you really are." She kissed him softly. "I would have fallen in love with you if you were a barista at that coffee shop, if you were a teacher at a small school, if you were anyone at all. Because I didn't fall in love with what you have, Alexander. I fell in love with who you are." Alexander felt like his heart might burst with happiness. "I love you too, Lily Walsh Blackwood. All of you. Your brilliant mind, your kind heart, your crazy plan, and my grandfather-approved matchmaking skills." Lily laughed. "So we're really doing this? We're really going to make this work?" "We're going to make this the greatest love story ever told," Alexander said, pulling her close. "And we're going to honor my grandfather by using his gift to help as many people as we can." A year later, Alexander and Lily renewed their vows in the same church where they'd had their arranged wedding. But this time, the church was filled with laughter, tears of joy, and people who truly loved them. Lily wore the same wedding dress, but her smile was completely different. Instead of nervous determination, her face glowed with pure happiness. Alexander's eyes never left her face as she walked down the aisle, and when they kissed this time, the whole church erupted in cheers. At the reception, Alexander's best man Marcus gave a speech that had everyone laughing and crying. He said, "A year ago, we all thought we were watching a business transaction. Instead, we witnessed the beginning of the most beautiful love story I've ever seen. Alexander and Lily have taught us all that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places." Lily's father, whose business had been saved and was now thriving thanks to Lily and Alexander's partnership, stood up next. "When my daughter told me she was marrying a stranger, I thought I was losing her," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Instead, I gained a son who loves her more than I ever dared to hope for. And together they've shown me that love isn't just something that happens to you, it's something you choose to build every single day." As the evening wound down, Alexander and Lily snuck away to the same spot where they danced at their first reception. This time, when they swayed to the music, they were both smiling. "Any regrets?" asked Alexander, spinning Lily under his arm. "Just one," Lily said, grinning up at him. Alexander's heart skipped a beat. "What's that?" "I regret that your grandfather isn't here to see how perfectly his plan worked out." Alexander laughed and dipped Lily dramatically. He said, "I think he knows. I think he's been watching this whole time, probably very proud of himself for being the world's best matchmaker." "The world's sneakiest matchmaker," Lily corrected. "The world's most successful matchmaker," Alexander said before kissing his wife. 6 months later, when Lily told Alexander she was pregnant, they found one final letter from his grandfather, hidden in the safe with instructions to open it when the family begins to grow. The letter was short and sweet. "Congratulations on proving that the best things in life are worth waiting for, worth working for, and worth fighting for. The child you're expecting will be lucky to have parents who understand that love is not about finding the perfect person, but about choosing to build a perfect love together. P.S. I hope the baby likes chocolate chip cookies." Alexander and Lily laughed until they cried, and then they cried until they laughed, holding each other close and marveling at how a forced marriage had become the most beautiful love story either of them could have imagined. Because sometimes the best plans are the ones that bring out the love that was already waiting in our hearts. And sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings.